think my favorite color that I like to work with in the studio is green. I like all shades of green, all kinds of green. I think like the sap green, olive green, green is like my color. My name is Shannon Bono and I'm a visual artist and a teacher. My practice consists of the Black female narrative. I incorporate Afro spirituality in there and narratives from everyday life. And I'm mainly working oil paints and spray paints and acrylic paints, a bit of everything really. I think I get inspiration from daily life and having conversations with friends, family, women that I find interesting. I get a lot of inspiration when I go on holiday to Africa and seeing women in their cultural attire, spiritual women that are helping the communities, that are seen as doctors and I guess important members of the community. I think those women just living life and tapping into their magic really inspires me to create paintings about everyday women, really. I feel like inspiration, it just really comes out of nowhere. It's very unintentional. I think the most memorable one I can think of is my best friend who is in a same-sex relationship. And she was just really discussing her process of queer family planning as a Black woman. And I was just so unaware of the process. I just found it really interesting and that inspired me to make a painting about that. So whenever I would show that painting, I discuss her story and her life and how she came to the place that she is now. First of all, I start off the first layer with the acrylics and the spray paints. And that is very much taking on the magic of the studio and just allowing the paints to tell me what to do and where to stop and when I should continue again and where I should place it, or I should let it drip, where I should let it fall. I just follow my intuition. And then when it comes to the figurative element of it, I do a lot of self-portraits, but then I'm also thinking about the story, specifically what I want to discuss in that moment. And again, that is based on intuition and it just comes to me. I can plan as much as I want to, but it never turns out right. It's always when things happen naturally in the studio, that's when the best paintings come out. As a Black woman living in London, African background, I have a lot of Caribbean friends. I believe all of that influences my practice. I do have a focus on African culture and this blending of nationality, being British, but then being African. When I do have these self-portraits in my paintings, I am Black woman, but there are certain things that tell you that I'm a contemporary person living in London. The colors that I use, the patterns that I use, textures, and a lot of the African sculptures that I depict are obviously from the continent. I believe my work does help me connect with the outside world and other creatives and just, I guess, inspiration for my paintings as well. I think being a painter in your studio can be a very low process. And I believe to make work, you have to have these life experiences. You find that sometimes in the studio, you might get burnout, nothing comes out of the studio because you haven't actually lived life. You need to make those connections to bring back to the studio to create. Listening to other artists speak about how they find inspiration, they just say, get out of the studio and just live life. I think I have the artist's eye. All creators have this eye. So like you just be outside in the world doing your own thing, but then you just see things in a different way. You see the beauty in everything and random things would inspire you. The backgrounds of my paintings are inspired by African Dutch wax fabrics. I do have a science background, so I merged these designs with scientific symbols or structures. And most recently, it has been really focused on this visual language of magic. So the reoccurring sort of symbols or motifs or totems that are found in my work are based on either the African countries that I visited or from my own background. So my mum is from Sierra Leone, my dad is from Congo. I've recently been to Cameroon and Gambia. So going there, I do like to speak to these women that are practicing these traditional African religions. I like to go to museums and look at the sculptures, hear about the sculptures from their point of view compared to being in a Western space. So I am depicting them in the right way. When I was younger, when I thought I wanted to be an artist, but I wasn't too sure, the most important thing for me, and I think that's what my tutors noticed as well, was showing Black female artists that are established in their fields, representing us in different lights. I might not relate to every single one, but it's important to show all aspects of our lives. But I wanted to expand that as well. I wanted to go into abstract works. I wanted to go into sculptural pieces and pick from different cultures to really represent the totality of our experiences, not just negative, positive, and the in-between. Going back to history, even one of the portraits that I did recently, the Windrush generation portrait, speaking to different generations and how they've contributed to their communities before I was even here. I've been recently working with a lot of wood and making these like sculptural paintings. And just again thinking about how my work will be received, but obviously I want to be authentic to stay true to the work and to the materials that traditional African practitioners would use.